The former Batman Ben Affleck, who of course also played Daredevil for Marvel, was recently part of a pretty big interview talking about his career, and a giant part of that interview focuses on his time as Batman in the Snyderverse under Zack Snyder. And he reveals how he feels about it and how he realized very quickly that every single thing that they did was not a good idea. So some of you may not be aware of this. It's something that's very important to this story, and that's the fact that in the early 2000s, Ben Affleck, as his stock was rising, thought he would never get to play Batman, specifically his favorite version. And he was like, you know what? If I want to play a comic accurate character or even get a shot at a comic book character, I'm going to go do Daredevil for Marvel. Now, I know people hate that film. I have gone on record multiple times here stating I love that film. I think it is great, and the director's cut is far superior. I urge people to give it an actual chance and not just listen to what people have stated on the internet, because Ben Affleck is a good Matt Murdock, and that film deserves to be up there when it's mentioned alongside like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, and the first Fantastic Four, and good first outings that set a tone for what they could do. But again, it was overshadowed by multiple things, so I get it. But this relates to the story we have at hand, because he said he enjoyed the Daredevil experience, and that really made him see that maybe there's a potential in the future to do more comic book roles. So he obviously got to play Batman in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And he recently talked to GQ about this, about how things went down, everything that was happening. So there's quite a few quotes here I'm going to read to you and then talk about what he's saying in my response. So again, when they asked him to reflect on it, this is what he said first, and I quote, "I had a really good time. I loved doing the Batman movie. I loved Batman v Superman. And I like my brief stint on The Flash that I did. And when I got to work with Viola Davis on Suicide Squad for a day or two." Okay, so obviously, he's telling you right there, look, he enjoyed his time. He got to play Batman. He got to work with some super talented people. He got to cross over. He likes what he got to do in The Flash. There was so much great stuff that came out of it when you piecemeal it all, right? But this is where we're going to get into some of the other stuff, because then he says, and I quote, "In terms of creativity, I really think that I like the idea and ambition that I had for it, which was of sort of an older Batman, broken, damaged Bruce Wayne. And it was something we really wanted for the first time in a movie." And yeah, you saw what they were going for. It's very evident that this wasn't like Batman the way you know him or saw him in any of the other films. It was a new direction, a new Batman, a new way of introducing the character to a whole new generation. And yeah, it was a damaged Bruce Wayne, broken, a lot older, a lot more bitter. And, that's where people start to take issue. And this is what Ben Affleck said next, and I quote, "What happened was, it started to skew too old for a big part of the audience. Like, even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, we have a problem." End quote. Now, just to be clear, I didn't read the entire quote verbatim because he swore twice in that, but that's the rest of the quote verbatim. So, okay. Now this is something that he realizes obviously was a mistake, and a lot of people said the same thing. Batman v Superman was being pitched to adults, and I put that in quotation marks, and hey, do you like edgy? You don't like friendly comic book cartoon looking Marvel heroes or DC heroes? Well, we got the adult stuff for you. That alienated a lot of the fan base. If you look at the ticket breakdown of Batman v Superman and even Man of Steel, you're going to see that children going with their parents was not it. Where Marvel breaks down in a fashion that's typically 50-50, maybe upwards of 55 on some, but still. He realized that that's a problem because who's the primary audience that's buying the merchandise? Because all these films are made to sell merchandise. It's kids. And if kids don't want to see it or are scared and don't like what they're seeing, they're not going to go. And they're not going to ask their parents to go. And this is how he says he realized that this was a mistake. Because his son doesn't want to see it when his dad is Batman. Now imagine other people. You know, like, this was something that was very prevalent when this film came out. Oh my God, is it? No way, it's a decade next year. Okay, we're still safe. I don't have to have a mental breakdown right now. Okay, whew. But yeah, you guys get what I'm saying, right? And then he also adds, and I quote, "Then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down that road, and a studio that wanted to recapture all the young audiences on cross purposes." End quote. So now he's talking about what we know happened. When Batman v Superman hit, Justice League was already shooting. And Zack Snyder said, "I'm not deviating. I am making my film." WB was like, "We're not selling merchandise. We can't recoup the costs as the film is not going to recoup costs. We told investors $2 billion box office. We're not even going to hit one." And when they say, well, the toys are going to offset it, we show them the paperwork and they go, "Why is nobody buying toys?" And then we point at Zack Snyder and he's not deviating. And now we got a clash of styles. And that's what he's saying here, which is true. You know, for better or for worse, Justice League was a Frankenstein monster of different views, different directors, different producers, studios changing hands. I mean, it was a giant mess. We know this, you know. So him getting into this is really telling. You know, he's saying Zack Snyder wanted to stick to his guns. Others didn't. And in the end, you got what you got. And then he adds, as a last part of this, and I quote, "Then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different. And that is a really bad recipe." End quote. So here he's obviously talking about how DC at the time and WB pivoted, got Jeff Johns and, of course, Joss Whedon to reconfigure Justice League to try to be brighter and friendlier. Did Justice League sell more merch? Yes. Yes, it did. But at the cost of alienating fans, turning fans, and, well, showing people that there is no vision, that they're willing to pivot at the slightest issues that show up. And that's really the biggest core aspect of this and the biggest takeaway I have from reading all of this in his quotes right here. And that's the fact that it was constant competing different views and ideologies in regards to filmmaking, the filmmaking process as a whole, the direction, and none of it worked and it all fell apart. And you can blame anybody for this. It's not just Zack Snyder. It's not just, Walter Hamada or Amy Sarnoff or whoever. It's everybody's fault because nobody had a concrete vision that they could agree upon. And the end result is the universe hindered DC for the better part of a decade. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.